guys, I'm Prodigy from ASTKilo23. Back again today with another Black Talon Concepts review. This one's on the Chimera Mosfet. It's kind of like the Spectre, but it's got some other components in there that make it a little more interesting, a lot more reliable. So we're going to be throwing this today in a buddy's KWA M16 DMR. Now, I sold this to him about a week ago. He got through a really good day with it, and he loves this thing to death. Shoots 300 feet easy with a .4. But in the last game, he had some trigger problems with it. So I told him, hey, you know what? I sold you this gun. I'm going to make sure it works well. So I'm going to drop this Mosfet in here for you. And just as long as I can get a video review done on it. So I got this gun here, KWA M16. We're going to drop the Chimera version 2 Mosfet in here. And we'll see how it works. Let's go ahead and take this guy apart and drop it in and get it going. So the Chimera FET comes with a lot more than the Spectre FET. There's a lot more going on here as far as wiring goes. It's going to come with the actual Chimera FET, which sits outside of the gearbox. It's kind of like some other company FETs that you might have seen. You get the unit that replaces the trigger switch, so it's going to have the cutoff lever switch and the two notches on the bottom there. That's going to work for your selector plate. And you've also got your trigger contact right there. It's also going to come with two of these white wires, so if one breaks, then you have a replacement, because they're not exactly the most common thing you're going to find in the world. So you'll just need one of those for putting this thing together. You do get one Tamiya and one Dean's cord that obviously will hook from the Mosfet to the battery, and you get one wire cord for one red and one black, and those are going to go from your Mosfet to your motor. Alright, please note, I did have a speed trigger in here before. This little bar just sits a little too low, so I actually had to put a regular trigger in here. The speed triggers are not compatible with the Chimera FET. A little annoying, but it's really not a huge deal. So wiring this in can be a little bit tricky. Basically, you've got 3 different wires going on inside the gearbox, 4 if you really think about it. Now, you get 2 of these long white wires. It's 5 little guys, but you can kind of see it's already separated into 2 portions here. One that's got 3 little wires, one that's got 2. What I went ahead and did is, because the 5 wires altogether is just a little too wide and such a pain to fit it in the gearbox, I actually just tore those down. So it's just the 2 wires and then the 3 wires sitting on top. So it's a lot easier to fit in there. Now, those will hook just in here. There's some little ports. I recommend just taking some needle nose pliers and lightly pushing them in. You will hear a really, really light click when you pop them in, so you kind of know they're in there. With the red and the black wires on the bottom here, the red one I usually do about 130 millimeters past the bottom of the gearbox here, and the black one I usually do either 100 or 110 depending. Alright, I now have the Chimera FET installed in this KWA gearbox. Obviously there is a lot of wiring here. There is a ton of excess wiring. I wish there were an easy way to trim down these white links here, because there's just so much, and obviously it's just going to get crammed into the stock and everything, and hopefully my buddy won't be using a massive battery. I think he runs an 11-1, a pretty small one, so this should be fine. But obviously I'm going to trim this length down quite a bit, because this is a lot of wire. It's just not necessary. So let's go ahead and plug a battery in and just double check it works here. This is just a 7.4. So the stock settings on here, it's set to semi and full auto. Right now, obviously the cutoff switch button isn't going to be reading, so it will be spinning for an extra half second after I let off the trigger. So let's see what happens. Alright, obviously everything's reading fine. So I'm going to go ahead and put this back together and make sure it's all functioning properly. Alright, so I've got this whole thing back together now. It did take a little bit of work. You had to measure the wires out to the motor and everything, and do a little bit of wire trimming, because this thing just has so much excess wire. It's a lot of work, essentially. It's a lot more work than the Spectre FET to get working. This guy, I didn't have any problems whatsoever installing. I literally just dropped it in, checked to make sure everything was engaging properly, and it works perfectly. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys this. Before that, though, it had so much excess wiring, and that long white wire, I ended up just wrapping it up and putting some electrical tape around it, and it's all sitting here in the stock. So as long as it's hidden, that's great. But just be aware there is going to be a lot of excess wiring that might have to bundle up and hide somewhere in your gun. Right now I have an 11-1 LiPo plugged in. I've got this set to shoot semi-automatic only on both semi and full auto because it is a DMR. It is shooting over 500 FPS, and that's just the way it is. So let's go ahead and check this thing out. Once again, a big thanks to Black Talon Concepts Airsoft for sending me out this Chimera FET. It's a lot of fun to work with, and I'm sure my buddy's going to be super, super happy with it in his gun. I had a lot of fun installing it and testing it. These things are always just a beauty to work on. They're so simple, and they work really well. There's not much more I can say. For a $100 Mosfet, this thing is phenomenal. If you guys have the ability to get one, I highly recommend picking one up. They're super easy to install for you guys that know what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing, if you never opened up a Gearbox, have someone else do it. Trust me. Aside from that, these are totally worth the money. Go grab one. Again, thanks to BTC. Take it easy, guys.